say to you?
He was a shy guy himself, by the way.
Yeah, I do know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a twinkle in his eye. And he said, "That's quite a story, Nelson. Welcome." Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was working on the Tonight Show as the broadcast standards person, sometimes known as the censor,
Right.
for, 8 months, I guess it was. And I learned so much from the experience of being there with Carson and folks every day.
What did you learn? What are some of those experiences that you learned with working with these greats like this? I mean, that you were able to emulate and take on their...
I got a sense of what makes the great great. What makes the great
Please
great.
tell. Let's we all want to know.
Discipline and focus is what I took away from the experience there. You know, the show is done on tape, and it was done on tape and then put on a satellite to be sent to the various NBC stations. And every day at 5:30, not 5:31, not 5:29. Every day at 5:30, there was a studio clock with the ticking second hand. And when that hand hit 5:30:00, there was the downbeat from Doc and the orchestra. And I learned about what it takes to hit the mark every day, consistently, no excuses.
Oh,
Right?
boy.
And the rehearsals in the afternoon, Doc Severinsen. I had to go over to the studio to get certain things in the afternoon, and I would hear somebody running scales on the, turned out to be trumpet, and turned out to be Doc. And though he was quite an accomplished musician, every day at a certain hour, he was doing scales. That's what pros do, right? John, if there was a skit, would be there at 1 o'clock doing rehearsals.
Like clockwork. Every day. There was always a time, structure, discipline for everything.
Yes.
And you show up no matter what.
There you go.
No matter what.
That is how he managed to be the best at what he did for 30 years.
Right. Isn't that? Because, see, we don't get to see all that
No.
stuff. And so I know with you yourself, so you have really been able to incorporate and emulate and take that into your own life because you're very scheduled, very structured. I know for the most part what I know, I've known you for a while now, and you really take the time to thoughtfully plan your day. Do you do it the night before, the week before?
Well, I wish the night before. Sometimes I end the day by sitting with my daytimer. Now it's electric, with Outlook on the computer. But if it's an ideal day for me, I pull out my goal card, and based on the goals...
Tell everybody what your goal card is, that you have an index card that you keep
3 by 5.
Mm-hmm.
I keep it in my daytimer, actually, and sometimes I have more than one copy. One's on the refrigerator at home in the kitchen, so I can see it first thing in the morning. And if I'm really being ambitious, I'll put one on the bathroom mirror, one on the refrigerator, and one there, so that everywhere I go, I can pull it out and read some of those things. But the goal card should animate what you do every day. I am no pristine, classic accomplisher in that regard. I take the...
Oh, I don't know about that.
I know the underlying principles. I have to work pretty hard to practice them every day. But I know that the more I practice them, the faster things tend to happen. And those things that we want to materialize tend to show up a bit earlier or more fully blown if I'm disciplined that way. But from that time, that was the graduation ceremony for me to another level, being around the Tonight Show and some of the most professional people at everything, as directors, as a band director. I've seen Ed McMahon many times since those days. That was in 1981, I guess that was. So I've seen McMahon, and watching him do commercials was a manifestation of how a true pro, goes about doing what he does. Interacting with people on the show like Bob Hope and others, and watching how they did what they do. It was just an experience to watch the best. The best,
truly. I mean, some of the greats.
Yes.
Yes. So from there, with NBC, where did you go? What was your next?
Detours.
Yeah.
Remember I mentioned game shows?
Right.
and I became the director of daytime programming for the network from there.
Which is pretty amazing.
So there I was, not being a game show host, but working on developing game shows. We did 10 pilots in 1 year there. And I met so many of the game show hosts that, in fact, I was, in effect, a gatekeeper for game show hosts, right?
Right.
So I didn't get to be a host, going back to the reference about your friend who loves music, but I found a way to be in and around game shows. And the game show producers, to this day, a couple are still friends of mine. And Alex Trebek, who I met then in one of the periods when he didn't have enough to do as a game host, as in nothing to do as a game host.
Which is amazing to think that.
Yes.
That he had nothing to do because he became
As
Alex Trebek.
As the phrase went, he was on the beach. But I knew him from before. I knew of him. I hadn't met him or worked with him, but I knew him from before. And so it loops around. I was there at NBC for 4 years.
A lot of foreshadowing going on in your life.
Yes. That's why I believe in...
Lots of foreshadowing going
foreshadowing
on. Foreshadowing
is a good phrase.
Interesting.
I like that phrase.
Yeah.
Because
a lot of things have looped back
there are
for
pieces.
You. Yeah.
And here's the next piece, if you want
Right.
to. I mentioned something here. I got a new boss. I won't mention his name, at NBC, and he was presented as a genius. Out from New York, this kid is a genius. He was 26 years old at the time. And I don't use the word genius very often, and I think geniuses are truly rare. And this was a slight misrepresentation of his him by calling him a genius.
In what?
Yeah, okay. But I was gone. The disagreement, two different directions, blah, blah. So I was gone from NBC. But I had been introduced, or somebody had said to Merv Griffin, who wanted to bring Jeopardy out of mothballs, it wasn't on the air, said, among the people you should meet is this guy Nelson Davis over at in daytime because he loves games and so forth and so on. And I think an old producer of the Jeopardy show, Mr. Rubin, had thought that about me, and so I was drove over to Vine Street, and Merv was still doing a television show then as a host. And Bob Murphy, who was one of his number one guys, met me and looked me up and down, and we talked for a bit, and he thought I was worthy of meeting Merv, and so down to Merv's dressing room, and Merv and I talked for a little while, and I became the person chosen to produce the pilot of Jeopardy to bring it out of mothballs.
My.
And so in that process, with Jeopardy, there was 2 hosts under consideration. And one of them was Alex Trebek, and then there was another person. But they were having trouble making a deal with Trebek, and so the other person was the favored one. In my particular case, having known Alex just a teeny bit, but certainly his work from previously, I said, maybe it's not understood that Alex Trebek is like the end result of a selective breeding process for a Jeopardy host. And so we did.
I like the way that was phrased.
We did. We wound up doing the pilot with Alex Trebek, and you know most of the rest.
Right.